Dr. Stein of Functional Mind and What If It's Not Depression podcast. And my guest today is Dr. Rabab, who is the founder and CEO of Hunt Valley Acupuncture and Chinese Herbal Medicine and Hummingbird Potions. She is a 5-element acupuncturist, herbalist, zero balancer, sound healer, medical astrologer, and aromatherapist. In a nutshell, she is a medicine woman. She has 48 years of combined experience in Western as well as Eastern medicine. While her practice is grounded in ancient Chinese medicine, she also brings her ancestral Sumerian, which is vibrational sound and astrology, and Sufi healing wisdom with her in the treatment room. Her approach is to help patients have access to the best part of themselves and find balance within. Welcome, Rabab, Dr. Rabab.
Hello, thank you so much for the lovely introduction.
Oh, you're very, very welcome. It sounds like your neighbor is still cutting his lawn next door. So I apologize for the sound, everyone, but it's maybe he'll move to another part of the lawn. So we'll try to um, go through our interview with that in mind. I am so happy you're here. I've gotten to know you, and I've been so enamored with the sound healing that you've done. It's just been amazing to hear a lot of the and watch you, hit the bells and the all the variety of instruments that you use to create sound and to heal. But I would love to first, before we even get into that, I would love to learn from you about your journey and the things that you've experienced that led you through this path of acupuncture and meditation and sound healing. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how that all started.
Sure. So I was born in Baghdad, and growing up, I lived in several different places. Beirut is being one of them, Morocco and Egypt, Abu Dhabi, and throughout my life, I have had a wonderful childhood, but we also had wars going on. And the impact of that has really changed my life, I think, or shaped my life. So I moved to the US exactly 31 years ago, this April.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1990, as soon as I came here, the US, launched this massive, war. And I found myself in this shock. And it's something I've never really experienced before. It's like when the ground is pulled from under your feet, when you feel scared and alone and grieving and worried and all of the emotions all at the same time and with no direction, like with no way to see forward. And my family was still living there.
Mm.
And
That must have been very anxiety provoking and worrying about them too.
yeah, I mean, sleepless nights, all of it. Grief, you may want to call it depression. I think it was more sadness and grief about the loss of the country, the motherland,
Mm-hmm.
that was, just destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So, fast forward, one of the ways that helped heal or move towards healing, there was this one woman who is just an incredible human. She was married to, or is married to, an Egyptian doctor, and she was a friend of ours. And she's from Germany, and her story was really fascinating. She was lost during the war when the Nazis were there, and they had to leave their homes, and she got separated from her house, from her family, and some family picked her up in this, literally in the street, and like she couldn't find them until 10 or 12 years later. But this woman just had this capacity in her heart to invite all the Iraqi families who were we were there weren't a lot of us here in this area in Maryland. And she opened her home and she talked about her story, and that really was like, it still brings tears to my eyes. That was such an amazing thing to know that, look, trauma, depression,
Mm-hmm.
shock can happen. And what I remember her keep saying, that the human beings are resilient, they continue to find a way out of that. And she was talking about how, because I was worried about my family, like my twin brothers still lived there, my sisters, my parents, all my friends, I had just moved here. And
Right.
so the whole entire life that I knew was under bombs. So she she gave me that one nugget that I literally like held on to. It was like several actually, which she provided the safe space. She talked about her story, and she was vulnerable, and she talked about how the human spirit will find a way. And I will never forget that. I think that was a major treatment that I wonder if she knows that she really provided to all of us,
Wow.
you know?
That there's a lot of grace in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then fast forward, huh?
Are you still in touch with her?
Her daughter is one of my really good friends, and I have not seen her in a long time, especially with COVID and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
she's a magnificent woman. She's probably in her 80s right now. She's my mom's age.
Oh,
So yeah, and
it takes a very special person to do what she did.
completely,
Yes,
yeah. So
absolutely.
that was the first, that I think that was the first step towards healing.
Hmm. Right. And so then how did you find acupuncture?
Right.
That wasn't what you were doing at the time, right?
No, I was studying to become a cardiac sonographer, and I did, and I worked in cardiology for 10 years before I got injured.
Uh-huh.
And and the injury led me to acupuncture.
Uh-huh.
So my shoulder, my hands, I was declared actually completely disabled for life. That was 22 years ago.
Hmm.
And I met my acupuncturist at the gym where I used to work out, and I had my first treatment. And what happened is that it just allowed for my pain to dissipate. But what also I found is um, that there were layers and layers of that particular trauma that was still held inside my body, that I needed something, something else, like literally acupuncture, like unlocked all of these. And
Mm.
so the actual real healing began, and I immediately enrolled myself. Like I left his office, I thought, I've never seen anything like this. I've never experienced any healing modality like working, having been worked at Hopkins and different hospitals in Maryland, literally the best hospitals in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I had not yet seen anything that brings direct and such an effective way to heal somebody like that. And so I enrolled myself in acupuncture school that day.
Wow. Wow. Can you go into, do you mind going into a little bit of what the injury was? What kind of injury was it that you were
Oh, so sonographers have a very tough job. It doesn't look like it on the outside. It looks like we're doing something really easy, but we're constantly, like, our bodies are contorted. We're looking, we're using, the computer is on this side, the patient's on this side, and so repetitive motion injury causes definitely your shoulder to be, you know, completely out of whack. The neck, so musculoskeletal injury that can affect your whole entire body. And the statistics are 90% of sonographers get um, injured, on the job within the first year. It took me 10 years, within the first year of doing sonography.
I would never have guessed that. You're
Nobody
absolutely
knows. I mean, and now nobody knows. I mean, it's just like it's not a well-known fact, and here there's a lot of people who suffer and work through the suffering, and the problem is that, like I was disabled for a year. I couldn't work. I could not lift my teacup for a year, and
wow.
so acupuncture did not let the pain go away, but it stopped, like it wasn't grabbing hold on me, anymore. So it just like dissipated slowly, and I went back to work within 4 months. The doctor who said that I'm disabled, like, what are you doing here? You're not supposed to be able to do anything. I'm like, you're not supposed to do anything.
Good for you. Oh, that's such a great story. I love that. So you
Yeah,
became an acupuncturist,
right.
but I know that it's a certain type of acupuncture that you,
The five element.
yeah, the five elements. Can you tell us more about how is that different from other types of acupuncture?
So there's many different traditions, and the five element tradition, the theory, what we focus on is the humans being like we're part of nature. We're not like looking outside of ourselves at nature, and that the law of the five elements is the moving in the perennial medicine kind of, from winter to spring to summer to late summer and then fall, and every single organ system is associated with one of these
Mhm,
elements.
mhm,
And then every single season is also associated with a specific element, so you've got water is winter, wood, which is the season that's we're in right now, is springtime, is associated with the liver and the gallbladder, and and then so on and so forth. And so every element, every season has its own energetic, as you can see just looking outside your window. Even if you live in a hot climate or a moderate climate, you can still see a slight change. Either a shift in temperature, the air smells different, and so what we do in our diagnosis is color, odor, sound, and emotion. And so we look at the patient as they're speaking. What emotion are they emitting? What
mhm,
is the color that is coming out of their faces?
mm.
And what's the sound and the smell? Pre masks, it was easier,
Uh-huh.
but the odor, because we can mask a lot of things. We can go to learn how to speak and change the way we speak, so the energetics is like, different. We can mask our wear cologne and mask our, perfume and mask our odor, but but the but we can't really mask the underlying energetic, the underlying emotion that we have, we and so the idea is that we have a tendency towards a certain element, like we are born with a tendency towards living, uh, conducting our lives, manifesting in one of those seasons.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is that when you treat, that's the place where you're hurt the most, and where you also have your best quality, your best gift to the world.
Mm.
And so, yeah, it's really beautiful. And
It
so the idea is that you treat the place that hurts and everything else flourishes in your life.
right.
But I mean, I'm also trained in traditional Chinese medicine, the TCM, and otherwise I wouldn't be able to do herbs as much, even though the herbs that, when I prescribe herbs for my patients, I'm thinking about their energetics in specific. So yeah, I don't, so this is five elements. The thing about it is that, in a nutshell, really, is that the student learns how the movement of the energy of every single organ system, season, element, and you either match that energy, so that's similitude, or
Yeah.
you counter it to make it more balanced. So you want to bring the body back into balance.
Right. Yeah, ultimately it's the same goals. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very interesting in the way that you describe it, because where you hurt, what hurts inside of you also molds you into the person who you are. So
yeah,
yeah, that's so it is a play, it is a part of you that needs to be respected, but also, it also guides you in how to heal that person at the same time. So
right.
it's almost like a mirror, so to speak.
Yeah, it's you know,
Yeah,
and oftentimes you see people, in their work, like they're they're literally working in the world in a way to that reflects their, sometimes, it reflects their own place of pain, or and flourish, all of it.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately, you want to use your pain on some level in a productive way, to.
Yeah, and also look at the other side of it. So we wouldn't know there's pain if we didn't know what it's like not to have pain. I don't know that I'm depressed if I did not know what it's like to not be depressed, you know?
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm really glad that you chose, that you had other words for it, because I'm actually, it's I wish we had a better vocabulary to express those emotions, and you used other words like sadness and grief and shock.
Yeah,
And it doesn't have to be necessarily a clinical depression, where it doesn't have to be um, made into a clinical disorder. These are real feelings. These are normal reactions to tragedies, really. These are
yeah,
normal reactions, and it's allowing the person to just let them have their reaction, obviously safely, safely in a way that they're not going to hurt themselves or other people.
right.
Sometimes it is a matter of letting some things take its course to a point, and so this woman came into your life to help, to take your hand and to help you through that.
You're right.
It's fantastic,
Yeah,
connecting to another person and saying, you're worthy, I care about you,
right.
you belong here, you were safe. And
Yes. Yeah, she literally provided all of that. It was just her gift. It was really beautiful.
yeah, yeah. So tell us more about the sound healing and meditations, whichever one you want to go into next.
So meditation is something that I really wanted to learn when I was really young, um, at age 11. And I was living in Iraq, where it's this completely secular, country, and the overarching religion is Islam, but people didn't really pray, and there
Uh-huh.
was no like, we fasted for Ramadan, but it was more of a culture than actual, religious practices.
Mhm.
And but the sound of the calling for the prayers was there all the time, 5 days, 5 times a day, which is really incredible, because thinking about it, it's like 5 times during the day, you hear this incredible voice calling for prayers. I don't know if you've ever heard it.
Mhm. I have, yeah.
And it's a call to pause, and the prayers are I mean, yoga poses, really, sun salutations, and child pose, and you can come up, and and you stand in your in bowing position, and it's a pause from life um, to just have 5 or 10 minutes for yourself outside of yourself.
Right.
I always thought that was brilliant. I
Mhm.
didn't look at it as a religious practice. I
Right.
just looked at it as, oh, this is the moment. Like, this is a time for,
Pause.
so I was able somehow to remove all the, and it's a gift. I don't know how, but I was able to remove the attachments to what it means, and and the religion,
Mhm.
and at age 11, I'm like, I want to learn how to pray, and I couldn't find anyone to teach me. My grandmother, my paternal grandmother, said, oh, you want to learn? Okay, so she gave me a booklet, and she said, here's here's how to do it. And I did that. I would go in a room, and I literally lock myself in it, and this was how I remember, like, actual practice, you know,
Uh-huh.
for myself, and that evolved over the years into different meditations, and I've studied qigong, tai chi. I studied breath work. I uh,
You mentioned yoga too. Yeah.
yoga, yeah, kriya yoga, which is breath work, which
Mhm.
is and so all of that brought, one of my most favorite mentors is Dr. Fritz Smith, and taught he teaches this meditation, and I have learned it in 2000, in the year 2000, and I have never stopped doing that meditation. And
Mm.
along the way, I also learned the inner smile meditation and many different meditations that I incorporate. And then with my Sufi background, I just, yeah, I
Mm.
used to lead meditation. I volunteered at the Baltimore Detention Center for about 2 mornings or 3 mornings a week for about 2 years, and I um, did auricular acupuncture for drug court,
Mm.
and led the group in meditation. And then I also did that for, after I left that area, in Baltimore City and in different places, recovering community and Penn North, where I did the same work as a supervisor, and did guided meditation for people during that time.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So, what was different about this mentor's meditation? Can you say his name again, and what his type of meditation is called?
Dr. Frederick Fritz Smith is the founder of Zero Balancing.
Oh.
He is an osteopath, and he's also an acupuncturist. And Zero Balancing was his project of excellence that he did during his acupuncture studying years. And I have
What is zero balancing?
Zero Balancing is a form of body work where we assess, um, the the idea is that we have an energy body and a structural body. In the structural body, you can think about your spine, your bones, your skeleton, basically your skeletal system, and of course also the organ systems and everything else. But we're focusing on the bones with Zero Balancing. And then the energy body is the flow, like the flow that makes us animate, that which makes us alive. And
Mm.
so what we do is with Zero Balancing is that we assess the relationship between the energy body and the structural body, and find the places where the physical memory is held, where the traumatic memories are held within the body, within the bones. And we
Hmm.
apply a very specific kind of pressure and allow for that to release. And as it release, as the bones release the tension, what happens is that the energies start flowing freely along the body and creates this incredible meditative state where healing actually occurs.
Wow.
So it's really magic. It's magic. My
That
patients will attest to that. They tell me you're a magician, you know. So, but it's Dr. Fritz Smith's um, innovation, and I have studied with him. The only year that I haven't seen him is last year because of the pandemic.
Right.
But I have since I met him in 2000. I have assisted him in God numerous. He'd come to Maryland at least twice a year, and
Wow.
I've been to Esalen with him, helping him. I've been to all over.
Where is he located?
He is in California.
California. Yeah.
He,
I'll definitely have to look into his work because I don't know if you know that I'm an osteopathic physician.
oh, you are.
Yes, yes. And I'm actually learning how to do energy healing. It's medical intuitive energy healing. And so doing body work and being an osteopathic physician, it's right up my alley. I want to learn all of that kind of
Oh
stuff.
my God, it's amazing. It's really magic. We work at the interface between energy and structure, basically, is what we do as
Wow.
zero balancers. He's given me his blessings. Last time I saw him, it was 2019, in the fall, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And he used to come in May, and in the fall, and he's in his 90s, so he's like, I'm done traveling. So so but he's uh, so last time I saw him, he's like, I said, Fritz, he's like, Rabab, you have my permission, you have my blessings, go. um
Yeah, no,
and
that's wonderful. So yeah,
yeah.
you've got you taking your own mantle in the zero balancing world. That's wonderful. Yeah.
So yeah, so the work, the meditation incorporates, and he tells us, like, you take this and you run away with it, like, in different ways. And there's so many different teachers who have, done, like, Secrets of the Skull, which is my mentor, Judith Sullivan. She did that class of, about the skull, and I learned a lot from her. And there's, chakra, and there's the as healers, we like build on that structure. And I think the sound for me is what I as a sonographer, I used to say that my fingers are cameras, and as a as an acupuncturist and zero balancer, I feel like my fingers are also my eyes, and so I can see and I can feel and I can hear with them. I can listen. And so my work with zero balancing really helped me, and acupuncture as well, but zero balancing is just, I don't know acupuncture without zero balancing. Basically, I just trained both of them together. And
Right.
so the movement of the energy and listening to that helped me want to understand sound more. And as I understand sound, I want to learn about the planets and astrology. It's like one thing leads to the other.
Right, right. It sounds like you use your whole body, mind, and spirit as an instrument in healing others.
I definitely do. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah, the way
Yeah.
you described it. Yeah, yeah. So I've gotten to know you through your sound healing. And what I would love for you to do is explain to people, if you can connect the dots for people about how sound heals.
Okay. There's a story also, like a bigger story behind sound healing, but
Sure. We've got time.
I was deathly ill, and I had to have an emergency surgery kind of deal, and during right after I got out of surgery and recovery, I felt this. I heard the sound in my cranium, and um, and I didn't know what it was, and I just wanted it to go all through my body, and and I also like literally heard this voice. It's like spirit telling me like get your sound, treat yourself with sound. So I didn't know what to do. Like here I am in bed, like trying to recover, and I'm in pain, but I'm not taking painkillers. I was taking like regular strength Tylenol only and Chinese herbs. And so I asked my acupuncture friends, and they said, "Oh my, just get forks." And so I go and I buy 2 sets. Like I almost died, so I'm like, "Who cares? I'm gonna buy the best thing there is." And so I bought 2 sets of these sound healing forks, and I started treating myself with them. So between the times that my acupuncturist couldn't come, my friends couldn't come and treat me, I would put those forks on my points to help with the pain and all that.
Mm.
And that just jump started my actual, like, I've always had little bowl, the singing bowls, but then after that in recovery, I just kept thinking, oh my God, I want sound instruments, and I didn't know what I was going to do with them. And so I imported a bunch of incredible instruments from India, and that story was crazy. Anyway, so so they sent them all the way to the other side, to the other coast, because America. Anyway, so here I get these, and I'm like, whoa, these are serious. Like these are serious instruments, and potentially, like, so I wouldn't put patients on it. I started using the forks with people who have needle phobia, who didn't really want to patient that my pediatric patients, they all get forks and they love them. I have them listen to it and say, hey, is this okay, is this not okay? And they, and I see this, like, when they smile, and I know which one to initially, which one to use, and
Wow.
which tone, and I use that. And then potentially I became really good at using that. Of course, I studied with several people who are also acupuncturists, who do that work with sound, and and I and I wanted a gong, and I didn't know which one to get. I finally I found this. Went to visit with my friend in Florida who was teaching a sound healing with the forks, and she had all these gongs, and I thought, okay, I'm going to close my eyes and listen, and took the gonger and went around and listening to see which one I'm going to buy, because I didn't know, like, what am I going to buy, right?
Mhm.
And I came to this, and I hit it, and I thought, this is the one. And so I bought it, and when it arrived home, I started playing with it. And then as I was playing with it, there was this vibration that I remembered. That was what I heard right after surgery in my cranium. That was the sound that was playing, and it's Chiron, which is the healer's healer.
Oh,
So
wow.
it's yeah. Um, so I incorporated more and more sound into my practice, and right before the pandemic, I had my first group come in, and I have a big sound lounge, studio, and they would come with their yoga mats and their blankets, and all cozy, and um, and do meditation, guided meditation, and sound healing. And it was really beautiful, and I, that's that. The plan is My plan was like, this is the way I'm going to go. So how it heals: sound scatters,
Hmm.
okay,
Yeah.
I think that's really the first thing that it does. It's like it scatters. Once it scatters, it's kind of creates like this um, what just happened, kind of like, like our body's like, "Wha." And because our bodies are piezoelectric, so we have the bones that conduct energy. We have the water that's in our 80%, hopefully, that
Mhm.
also conducts energy. So when we hear a sound, the vibration can penetrate throughout. And so choosing the right frequency for a specific illness or a specific organ can help bring that organ from out of balance into balance.
Mm. Right,
And
right.
so we, again, like five elements, we can use a similitude, like somebody needs a fire energy, I could use Mars, the tone of Mars, or somebody who needs a cooling energy, I could use the let's say the moon, and
Mhm.
so it depends on what's happening and what I want to accomplish is what I use. And there are sound instruments that are monochord kind of deal where they just take you to a place of when before, like before you were born, or it's just like into the field of one
Mhm.
where you can journey on your own. And that was the what you experienced, that yeah, the my sound bed, the Nidra Nantar.
Ah, okay. Yes.
And the gong goes, and they go, different octaves go on different levels and different layers. So if I want to work on with the ethereal, with the auric field, then I use a higher octave. If I want to work on the fascia, I use a middle. And then if I want to work on a deeper level, like affect the organ system and the like the more solid structure, then I most likely would use the lower octave, And so it scatters, and then after that it kind of uh, um, calms, and then it can rejuvenate. It organizes the field within the body, and then it rejuvenates you. And yeah, I mean, it does a lot of things.
Right. So I'm curious, if a person has a certain sensation with a specific sound, and it's more of a calming, more of an alignment kind of sensation,
Mm,
should they go towards that? And vice versa. If there are certain sounds that are irritating and annoying or causes anxiety, should they then repel or avoid that type of sound? I'm curious as to, if one, do you use sounds to help almost diagnose the problem, and do you use a person's reactions to certain sounds as to whether or not to do it more or less, and
right.
you know,
So I have developed the ability to hear the the sound when I hear it. If I put it on a patient's body, I can hear that it may take. So I put this on a point, right? And
right.
it may take, I don't know, as long as this takes, the vibration lasts a long time. It's a really beautiful device. And so it's more than 60 seconds, definitely. And so I wait and I listen to the absorption rate and how the person is taking it in. And sometimes I have to repeat that over and over, so I give them more of that sound, if I'm listening and the sound is like we're already in resonance, you know, I don't really need to do more of that, because we can overtreat. I definitely think that it's a great idea not to be expose ourselves to sounds that our bodies like. Just whatever it is, just trust your body. Like if this isn't working for you, trust it. At the beginning of a sound, if you have like a guided, if you have somebody who's guiding you through this, then and you trust that person, then then you're safe. And the initial, I've experienced that the initial, what I do in my sound studio is that when when we used to do this in person, I'd watch the person and see what instrument they really like resonated with, and I start there. And sometimes I see them like standing in front of my soundstone, and I'm thinking, really? That's It's a serious instrument. It's like it's not for everyone, for sure. And that's what they go to. And so I say, okay. And so I start playing it, and and so I honor like even the person doesn't know, but I'm watching, and I'm looking at like watching for their own intuition, and I'm following with that. And
Right.
so
Right. Yeah, I have found that sound settles a person internally. It's a
yeah.
settlingness. It's a one layer. We're just talking about one layer, and it's almost, but it's sometimes it's an important layer in order to help people feel safe. It is an intuitive type of settling, that using sound to do that, as well as things like humming and
So important.
yes, humming, singing. It's an internal vibration that's very, very helpful. It's all, and I mean, I don't have the science to back it up, but I feel like it's almost like the vagus nerve is being stimulated on some level, that because it is that kind of settling that I find people have with
There
sound.
is one study of Tibetan Buddhist song, the singing bells, the bowls. And in this study, there's they were able to measure how the parasympathetic nervous system was activated, and shut down the fight and flight after exposing themselves to this kind of um, bowl, singing bowls. So there aren't many studies, and I am actually in connection with India because they have us there is this a study that the research that they're doing, and it's at the early inception. I really like, I'm here if you need to use me, like I'm offering sound healing all the time. I can send you my information and all that. So
Yeah.
it's after that conversation, this right now they're having a struggle with the COVID. So I trust that I will hear from them again soon. But um, we can just think about the traditions, like I mentioned, the call for the prayers in Muslim
Right.
countries. I mean, that is sound. And then the Om, the chanting,
Absolutely. Yeah.
there's not one the organ, playing organ in the churches. I mean, music has been, the Native Americans, all the other traditions, the native traditions have all used flutes for the Sufis, strings instruments, and the Sumerians, had their stringed instruments, the lute.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. Yeah, music is really important. It's an important part of life that I think everyone should incorporate on some level or another. So, yeah, I appreciate that you are doing this kind of work and offering this kind of work to help people heal on some level, along with lots of other things as well. I know that well, we need to wrap up, but I know that you have something to offer the audience. There's, I think it was either a free meditation or a sound healing download. Is that something that you could share with my audience at some point?
Absolutely. I'm actually have been offering free meditations on Clubhouse with sound healing on Clubhouse Eastern 9 a.m. Eastern time, um, Monday through Friday with Dr. Romy at the Mind Shift Institute Club. So we've been doing this, and it's like it started like she said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And now I feel like, oh my God, 9 a.m. morning meditation. And what I'm doing is it's really cool. What I'm doing is I'm using I have a MIDI device that connects to my plants, and I'm using the energetic field to connect the MIDI plant to MIDI device to my plants. The MIDI takes the energetics and transforms it into this beautiful melody. And so I never know what the sound's going to be, but I'm trusting it. It's like, okay, this is what we're doing every morning. And what's happening is that it's really bringing another dimension to the field that we're creating in the morning, where we're not only offering the meditation, like the internal meditation, but there's also the plants are involved within it. So it's really beautiful. And I usually end it with a small Tibetan bowl. So that's available and free. On my website, I have a download. Let me send you that download of a meditation, like a guided meditation that I did. It also has sound, in the back. So I'll send that to you, and you can link it to your
Sure, absolutely.
friends, the
Yeah.
people, followers, listeners. I think I gave you the wrong I changed mine. We'll talk about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'll include it in the show notes for everyone to
Yeah,
see,
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
including how they can reach you as well. That'll be included in the show notes. I know that you have a website by your name, www.rababalamin .com.
Yes.
And you're on Instagram at Hunt
Yeah,
Valley.
that's the one.
Yes, Hunt.
Instagram. No, it's not. It's Rabab Medicine Woman.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
On your Instagram. And Facebook page is Hunt Valley Acupuncture.
Hmm.
Yes. Okay. So we'll include all that and your updates as well in the show notes so that people can get in touch with you if they're interested in working with you. So I've loved everything that you're talking about, and I think it's important to have sound and music and vibrations as part of your life. There's definitely a lot that we still need to learn about it, but people do have benefit on some level, and it does address a layer that conventional medicine doesn't necessarily address, in order to find people or bring people on a path of healing, and other as well as other things. So thank you so much, Dr. Rabab, for joining us today. I really appreciate your wisdom and all of the talents that you have. And I look forward to learning more about zero balancing, that's for sure.
Yeah, we can have a chat. It's great. When you come visit your sister,
Yeah,
come visit me.
I absolutely will.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.